Karen's voice boomed like a foghorn, slicing through the quiet of our suburban cul-de-sac. "You're not even supposed to be here. You know that, right?" she sneered, her chins wobbling as she jabbed a manicured finger at Maria, my caregiver, who stood frozen, rake in hand. The HOA president and her equally vile sister, Linda, had cornered Maria in my backyard, their faces twisted with the kind of entitlement that could sour milk. Maria, a woman who'd cared for my late wife through her final days, was now trembling under their onslaught, accused of some imaginary HOA violation. The real crime? Karen and Linda didn't like her accent, her brown skin, or the fact she existed in their neighborhood. It was a Thursday evening, the kind where the air smells of cut grass and fading summer. I'd been watching from my kitchen window, sipping coffee, when I saw the sisters storm across my lawn like they owned it. Karen, all 300 pounds of her, waddled in a neon pink tracksuit, her sister trailing behind in a matching outfit, both clutching clipboards like weapons. Maria had been raking leaves, part of her routine to keep my place tidy while I recovered from knee surgery. She didn't deserve this. No one did. "You're illegal, aren't you?" Linda spat, her voice dripping with venom. "We could have you deported tomorrow." Maria's eyes widened, her grip tightening on the rake. She'd been in the U.S. for 15 years, a legal resident who paid taxes and prayed at St. Mary's every Sunday. But to the sisters, she was just the help, someone to bully for sport. I felt my blood boil, but before I could hobble out on my crutches, my son, Daniel, pulled into the driveway. He wasn't just my guide, was an ICE agent, a fact Karen and Linda were about to regret. The sisters' crusade had started months ago. When they took over the HOA, they'd turned our quiet community into a battleground, enforcing rules no one voted for. No non-white lawn decorations, no foreign cars parked overnight, no suspicious visitors. Karen, with her bleached hair and superiority complex, had once fined a neighbor for planting marigolds instead of roses. Linda, her shadow, was worst whisper threats in your ear while smiling like a snake. They'd targeted Maria from day one, calling her the maid despite knowing she was a certified caregiver. I'd ignored their nonsense, too tired from grief and surgery to fight. But this was war. Daniel stepped out of his truck, his badge glinting on his belt. He was 32, broad-shouldered, with the kind of calm that made people nervous. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice low but sharp. Karen didn't even glance at him, too busy berating Maria. "This woman's breaking every rule in the book," she shrieked. "We don't tolerate illegals here." Maria's face crumpled, and I saw red. I grabbed my crutches and shuffled outside, my knee screaming, but my anger louder. "Karen, Linda, back off," I growled, planting myself between them and Maria. Karen's eyes narrowed, her lips curling into a smirk. "Oh, Frank, stay out of this. You don't want trouble with the HOA, trouble?" They had no idea. Daniel stepped closer, his badge now impossible to miss. "I'm Daniel, Frank's son," he said, his tone like ice. "And I work for ICE. Want to explain why you're threatening a legal resident?" The air shifted. Karen's smirk faltered, and Linda's clipboard slipped an inch. They hadn't expected this. "We were just enforcing rules," Karen stammered, her voice suddenly small. Daniel didn't blink. "Threatening deportation without evidence is a crime," he said. "You're accusing a U.S. resident of being illegal based on what?" Her accent, her job. Maria, still clutching the rake, looked at me, her eyes wet but fierce. She wasn't just scared, she was furious. Karen tried to double down. "We have rights. This is our neighborhood." But her bravado was crumbling. Neighbors were peeking out now, drawn by the commotion. Mrs. Patel, who'd been fined for her Diwali lights, stood on her porch, arms crossed. Mr. Nguyen, whose car had been towed for being too old, leaned against his mailbox, watching. The sisters had made enemies, and now their reckoning was public. Daniel pulled out his phone, dialing his supervisor. "I'm reporting a potential harassment case," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Two individuals threatening a resident with false deportation claims." Linda gasped, her clipboard hitting the grass. Karen's face turned the color of her tracksuit. "You can't do this," she screeched. "We're the HOA," Daniel raised an eyebrow. "And I'm the law." What followed was a blur of consequences. Daniel's supervisor confirmed the sisters' threats could be investigated as harassment, possibly even a hate crime. The neighbors, emboldened, started sharing their own stories of Karen and Linda's tyranny. Mrs. Patel mentioned the $500 fine for her unapproved lights. Mr. Nguyen revealed they'd tried to evict his elderly mother for loitering on her own porch. By the time the police arrived called by Daniel, Not Meth sisters were surrounded by a small crowd, their power evaporating under the weight of their own cruelty. Maria spoke up, her voice steady now. "I've lived here longer than either of you," she told them. "I've cared for people you wouldn't even look at. You don't get to decide who belongs." The crowd murmured agreement, and I felt a swell of pride. Maria wasn't just my caregiver, she was family. The police took statements, and Daniel filed a formal report. Karen and Linda were escorted away, not in cuffs, but close enough. The HOA was dissolved by a unanimous vote the next week, replaced by a committee led by Ms. Relaxed. Maria stayed on, stronger than ever, and I healed in more ways than one, thanks to her quiet strength and Daniel's unyielding sense of justice. Karen and Linda faced fines and community service, their reputations shredded. They moved away within a month, unable to face the neighbors they tormented. I heard Karen try to start another HOA in her new town, but no one joined. Some lessons are hard learned. As for me, I sit on my porch now, watching Maria plant marigolds with a smile. The neighborhood feels lighter, freer. We're not just a community, we're a family, one that fought back and won. The end.